Hello. Happy Thursday. Uh, you may have noticed Nikki is not here with us today. He is out at KubeCon EU, probably having fun right now. But in his place, we have brought on Keith Lee. Thank you for joining the show. You're going to be our special guest star, co-host extraordinaire today for Cloud Foundry Weekly, episode 52. And we'll be this is gonna be a new trial by fire type of session where we're gonna do some live debugging and exploring things live. The latest release of the Open WebUI 0.6.0 launched tooling MCP support, which is I think near and dear to everyone's heart. So we're gonna do a little bit of that live. I've got some tips and tricks to cover with running LLMs and making calls, especially, so we can cover that, and really kind of anywhere else we want to go. But Keith, welcome to the show again.
Thanks.
We'll start off with some pre-show banter. What's going on in your neck of the woods?
My neck of woods. Well,
what's happening?
It's Friday Eve, not evening. It's the eve of Friday. So this is always a good one. We're nearly there.
Yeah.
Busy as always. It's CFP time again, so that's fun, for Explore. VMware's Explore is coming up, so
that's a good call out.
Brainstorming some CFPs for that, trying some things out in the lab. What could be good, what might be of interest for that, some demos, helping folk. So people are eager of getting up and running on Cloud Foundry, and my scripts are getting a bit of traction and guides, so that's good, and just helping out folk and some good feedback actually. Busy. it's always busy.
I hear you there on the busy front. So I guess a quick shout out for everyone. If you're wanting to submit a paper to VMware Explorer 2025, what was that? August 25th was the deadline for the So think about your idea and submit it. And if you need help or if you want any ideas, reach out. We'll happily help you out and you kind of talk through your ideas, or if you want to join the Cloud Foundry Weekly crew at Explore and talk about what you do with Cloud Foundry, we'd love to have you on the show, and we could even try to work out a live show or something there as well. So just a pre call out to anyone interesting, and then I'll segue into my other segue of conferences. So it's 5 weeks, 5 days, 12 hours, 53 minutes, and 14 seconds to Cloud Foundry Day North America, hosted in the Palo Alto campus by Broadcom. So hey, I'll be there. Nikki will be there. We'll have our live show closing out the day. So check that out if you're interested. There's gonna be a lot of great talks. Check it out. And then we also have a pre-day, kind of a Tanzu sponsored pre-day, day 2 or day 0, I guess, call it, event, where we'll be deep diving into kind of a lot of the AI topics that we cover on the show. So kind of have like interactive live event. If you're interested in there, kind of get yourself hands on and that type of thing. There's a link for that somewhere. I'll try to put that in the show notes. But yeah, some great times coming up. And I guess without further ado, we can kind of go into the schedule of the show here. So let me get my screen going, which is always fun. Entire screen 2.
Yeah, so Nick, you're on the pulse, because I got notification this new release came out, and it was 3 days ago. Yeah, so this release is fairly new.
Oh, yeah, this is some bleeding edge stuff, and yeah, well, we can see that in some of our testing and things. So, all right, let's see if I can get I'm gonna prep my screen, and we'll see. I wonder, maybe I'll just have to zoom right in. I think it might be a little too widescreen. Oh, this is probably a little bit better. We're down at the bottom. Whoa, okay, I was command plusing the wrong screen here. Sorry. All right, so yeah, just we got that Cloud Foundry Day counter, so that's how I know that count. And Nikki kind of made a joke about it last time because I that was the first time I pulled that out. So that's just how I keep track. But first and foremost, let's go into the Open WebUI release notes, right? So we've seen the Open WebUI, and I'll make this full screen here for now. Just trying to make sure people can read this. So we're on the Open WebUI GitHub page. Version 0.6.0 came out. Tons of features in this release. The,
Yeah.
the team, the community in the Open WebUI space. I mean, this is used like all over the space in the AI scene. So you can like run it on your desktop. It's tied to like a local Olama instance and kind of have that. You've got your desktop for like your little kind of uh, you know local AI scene there. We've obviously pulled that into running in an app, on Cloud Foundry and tying into the GenAI tile. We've had 2 previous shows where we kind of deep dive into how to get started with that. But
Yeah, or up and running in Docker, another easy way to get up and running.
yeah, there's loads of ways to deploy this thing, um, and every so often they drop a new release, tons of features to go through here. But they've been kind of getting a lot of questions, a lot of asking about tools and MCP servers. So we can kind of drill into that a bit. And if we look at some of the like what's been deployed or what they've implemented, so they've implemented this concept of the external tool server support via Open API. So essentially, they can use a common API to bridge to any of these external tool servers. And they also have a MCP server via what they're calling MCPO, which is essentially wrapping. If you have a lot of the original MCP, things started as tools that just run locally on your desktop because like it would plug into like the Claude desktop coming from Anthropic. So they aren't really like things that will run on a web server, right? Or like in a online kind of environment. So this, from my understanding, is that you can just kind of wrap different commands and things up, or different MCP tools that are more natively meant for running locally, in fronting that with a essentially like a proxy, right? So those are kind of things we can play and kind of play around with. I mean, there's so many
Yeah.
other things in this release that I haven't even been able to even really read through here. Um,
And they're not avoiding, there's so much attention at the moment on MCP servers because,
mhm,
like, if you
mhm,
start even looking at some of the registries, is that, yeah, I think you call them MCP registries.
mhm.
Like, it started in the hundreds, now we're in the thousands.
Yeah.
Um, like, there's one registry, MCP SO, there's over 6,000 servers registered there. There
Mhm.
is, what's the other one, MCP Pulse, there's over 3,000 servers. So the growth rate is huge at the moment.
Yes. Yeah. So it is. It's like wildfire and continuing to keep growing here. And I think there was one other thing I wanted to highlight. And now I thought it's changed like so long, I lost it. I might have to start searching through it. But there was something about document chunking. We were talking about that. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I thought I read somewhere here. Now these are just a few days old. That there's something where you could have the full doc and not have it not fighting for embedding or actual documents there. But anyway, we'll get into it now. All right. So if we go over, so we have the Open WebUI. If we cover the external tool server, we'll go into that here. I think I had that repo opened already. Oh, browser fighting.
I think
Click
the
the button.
chunking came in the last 5 with dot
Mm,
5 release, which was
okay.
only a few weeks ago. So
Hmm.
that's where I could have read it from, I think.
Yeah. So they have Open API tool servers, where they're trying to standardize different tooling that you could call. I'm thinking about maybe this might be able to, kind of call into to see if Kaizen at one point and that type of thing. So there's some examples where you call like get server, file system, all the different type of things where those are like externally hosted tool servers that you're calling via like an API, right? Um, and one other thing too, we'll call about this MCPO because this is I think a interesting kind of conversation. Is that like the like Timothy is kind of like the main I guess inventor of the Open WebUI. He kind of kicked this all off. Now there's a whole he's built this whole community around this project. So the contributors are in many now, but he's taken a pretty interesting stance of um there are like while MCP is very interesting and uh taking off, there are some um let's just say concerns like where it could be insecure, and we've actually hinted at some of that too on past episodes where if you're not handling like if you're giving an MCP tool, let's say credentials to an API, and then they have like full admin credentials or full credentials, let's say on your Cloud Foundry instance, and then that is just exposed on an endpoint, that could be a problem, right, from a security perspective. So definitely something you want to keep in mind there. um, Compatibility issues versus like sockets or like the standard in and out type of conversation
Mm.
versus just like pure HTTP and things like that. Those protocols were invented quite a while for reasons of like reliability and transport and things. So this MCPO is what they're basically calling this dead simple proxy that will sit in front of a MCP server command and kind of make it run and just work, right? So those are two things that we can play around with and see. Um, I haven't been able to get them quite working here. I thought I was pretty close to get this working within Cloud Foundry. So I do have a standard tool that we can use to explore with a different model. So maybe we can start with that and see where time allows. But I did kind of want to highlight this. This is fresh bits. Lots of stuff happening with MCP and making some progress here. Now let me break out of my web browser here.
Nick, what kind of things do you use Open Web UI for?
So I like again, if we go into here, I mean, I love using it to front all the models that I run on
Yeah.
the within my Cloud Foundry instances within Tanzu Platform, the GenAI tile and things. So it's kind of like my model testing ground, and it's just like my kind of go-to UI. I mean, like I could like write a bunch of curl statements and things, and
Yeah,
um,
that's it. It saves you from living in a
yeah,
terminal, though there's nothing
yeah.
wrong with living in a terminal either. Yeah, but
So let
it's
me
interesting as well, as you say, with the models, the different answers you get back. It's a good way of what quantization level was used, or even you can
yeah.
see the quality of responses.
Well, and even too, like we'll get into it where a lot of the things. So like, with the Gen AI tile, and we support Olama inference and inference via VLM, and Olama is a great and powerful tool. Um, and you could run on your desktop and things, but when you're running these models, when you start to do more advanced use cases, you could quickly type kind of see some of the defaults in Olama can be problematic at best, and not every model will support tools, and people will make the mistake of like, all right, I've loaded Gemma 2, I'm trying to run a tool command against it, and it just comes back with like nothing. It's like, well, that's because Gemma 2 doesn't support tools, so we gotta kind of go with that type of thing. So um let's get back into it here, and we'll see. I'm just changing some of my screens around, did some behind the scenes work here. Re-authenticate to my system. I have too many crazy notes here about where I keep everything. Okay. All right. So I'm back. I think I had this, which we may explore this a bit. Let's go back. Oh, represent screen. Share screen. Back. do, maybe we can do this
Yep,
again.
here we go.
Nope. Oh, I lost my options. There we go. All right, so I have Apps Manager. I'm going to go into my GenAI sample space. I'll blow this up a little bit more, just so you can see. And I have many different apps here in my Open WebUI CF space, but I believe Dev was the instance that I created that was the 6.0. So I'll drill into here. We have 4 models mapped currently. So we have Gemma 2. We have our production embedding model, Nomic. We have some names in here that, just for different demos and things. A database, so we're rocking Postgres still for all of our data stored here. And then I've got a Mistral Nemo tools model as well. So you'll see the difference between the two. And we can go from there. So let's go to my route.
Nick, are you running on GPUs here or CPUs or?
Oh, it's a little bit of a mix here, right? So this Gemma 2 model, hello. Or hold on. I want to do a little bit of behind the scenes work too today while we do this. So I'm going to get into Bosch and we'll load some.
Might have to bring that up a bit, Nick. Just
yeah. I'm just
that's okay.
Hold on. Sorry about my keyboard if it's super loud. I'll try to type quietly. No guarantees. Okay. So clear this out. I've got those credentials now. We'll go here and then Command ++. We'll do Bosch deployments. So I'm gonna run a errand and try to get a pro tip for how we start kind of going behind the scenes here. Now you don't really have to do this very often, but it might be useful if no one's ever seen this. So we have two different deployments with the GenAI tile. So that this main GenAI here. Let me clear my screen because it's way at the bottom. So this is the main deployment where the controller and the errands run. And I think this is the proper syntax. All right, so I've got these different errands ready to go. I actually want to do the debug info errand. It's been a while. I think it's Bosch run errand.
Is this one of those that will keep it alive?
Yeah. So this is just gonna I think do a quick debugging of where I want to go, and I kind of wanted to use this to see where we wanted to go. Bosch run errand. So Bosch run errand, debug info. And I'm pretty sure I need a deployment attached to that. Okay, yeah. Running errands, fetching logs. All right. Oh, this is neat. Okay, so I ran this because I wanted to figure out what was which, right? So I have actually 5 models in this deployment here. And then it was basically, there's not an easy way to see based on the GUID and the names, but if you run this errand, right, and you can easily see if I wanted to say here. So I've got all these different models. So I've got a VLM model running this, and that's actually something I'm testing out. So we're not going to use that because it's not quite working. I have another, let me blow this up a little bit here too. So I have another model provided by Ollama, the Gemma 2B. If I want to get into this one, it's this Bosch SSH command and this GUID, which is super useful. That's nice to know. So I'm going to actually store that in a text pad off the side here. Because then we can get in and then just, we'll have those instances ready. And then we can, as we run commands, we can read logs, we can see performance, that type of thing. Actually, instead of doing this one at a time, I could just do a mass copy paste here. look at me using my brain, right? So, all right.
I never
So,
knew about this, Aaron. This is brilliant because I was doing
yeah,
my old way, doing Bosch VMS and mapping it
yes.
myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I raised this in a meeting earlier today, and I was like, "Hey, you'd be really cool if you could do this." They're like, "Yeah, you could just run that errand." I was like, "Oh, yeah, I should read the docs." Okay, great. Thanks, thanks for telling me how. Yes, so it was a great moment, and this is changing my life already. So, and looking at all these things. So let's see here. We're gonna have a lot of screens going here. This is just the first of many. So I'm gonna have multiple terminal sessions going on here, and this is gonna be crazy. But this is kind of showing the how I can how we can help debug some of these things. Just because there's a lot of components involved. There's we have our AI proxy, our AI server, kind of our AI middleware proxy tier happening. We have our models, we have our apps. When we're making these calls and we're doing these type of things, you got to kind of look at all the pieces, right? And see. And I'm going to replicate a problem, and we're going to try to see what that problem looks like, and then we can see how it isn't a problem on a different thing. So
Yeah.
just give me one moment here while I
No,
do
I
some
appreciate
more.
it. Yeah, because I'm guessing you, like me, and many others, when we're doing such, we utilize all our real estate. Like you, I
Mhm.
suppose, I have screens left and right of me and a wide screen in front of me. I get it here, probably for the audience. It's not going to be. It's not as easy because the resolution we're fixed with. But
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best to make it readable as well. So I'm just pre plumbing some terminals here. But hey, hopefully this helps. Okay, so now I'm gonna get an instance of. I lost my. There you go. I'm gonna get an instance of my Mistral model going.
when you're done there, do you want to just high level? What's the difference between Gemma 2 and Mistral?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So we have two different models that we're going to be playing with today. Uh, the Gemma or Gemma. I don't know. I've heard it pronounced multiple ways. I actually don't know what the correct pronunciation is. It is by Google. It is running on CPUs. It's a relatively smaller model, so it's 2 billion parameters, and it is the 2B. It's instruct variant, and it's the Q6 quantization level. So it's not a huge model, but it does actually perform quite well on CPUs. But then, there are some limitations as well. So sudo I. All right. So let's see here. NVTop. All right. Okay. So that's my Mistral model. It's got some GPUs. I'm running some NVTop on the side. That's great. So now that I have my command for Gemma, I can get that going as well. To an HTOP, and we got CPU workers. So okay. So just to quickly show. See if I remember my hotkeys properly. All right. Yeah. Well. Actually, no. We'll do side by side. We won't be able to probably do this all at once, unfortunately. So, all right. So I've got HTOP running. I'm in this model. So let's just hello. How are you? Right. And we should see these CPUs spin up. The model was destaged, so I had to load, but now we're running, and it's running. Okay. Now tell me a joke. And it's gonna, we see the CPU start firing up again, and it's coming through. Every now and then, So why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything, And then if you ever used the Gemma models before, it's like its go-to joke is always the atom joke, so to speak. So if you see if you're dealing with a model and you ask it that question, it's either like proper Gemma or derived from Gemma or one of the Google DeepMind models. So that's kind of like the telltale sign per se on that. They always go with that joke. Okay, great. So that it's working. It's got CPUs. Everything's working fine. And it's not like super snappy, but it's actually coming back, and it's not timing out or anything. And this is running on in like an ancient Broadwell CPU. So if you have more modern CPUs within your data center, even within your like lab, it's going to come back much faster, and you can kind of see that going forward as
But
well.
it's still not slow, like in comparison, like as it's seconds, not minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, depending on the task, of course, on the tokens, whatever. But like, yeah, some people think, oh, very slow. It's not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally usable, especially for little quick chats here and things. So now we'll go to our GPU model. So we're going to go to a new chat, and we're going to select Mistral Nemo Tools, and say, hello, how are you? And yeah, it's coming back. And I think I missed part of that. Oh yeah, so I the GPU spike didn't quite paint on the screen properly. So there you go. So this model is actually split across 2 GPUs. It went up and down, ready to go. That type of thing. And now let's say, tell me a joke, right? And it's gonna say, yeah, what do you call fake noodle? An impasta. So this is another right. So just the 2 different model families. Gemma really likes the Adam joke. I feel like Mistral really like this fake noodle or impasta joke. So and you start to see them too throw in like random emoticons and emojis too. So obviously this is coming back faster. Now these are actually older GPUs, so, and I have it split out across 2, so that actually kind of slows the model down per se. Like I have it split out on 2 GPUs for a reason, and we can kind of cover that later. But by doing that, I'm kind of slowing down some of that transfer and that bandwidth between the 2. And that is, if we were using VLLM, that would actually, because I using 2 GPUs, I'd make it even better. Like, because VLM's great at stacking the GPU power and amplifying that. Unfortunately, these are older GPUs, so it's not supported by VLM. VLM's like very they start to trim the curve on like generational support. They're very current, and they're very eager to drop older cards because they don't want to build support across all the different versions of like the CUDA drivers and various things. So these are 2 Tesla P40s as indicated here. Kind of a great value card in the AI space, although it keeps going up in price. So again, these are almost more of an investment at this point for me. And maybe if I keep them for another 2 years, I'll trade them in for a 10x on my return. I don't know, who knows? But so that's my new financial advice is if you quote Jensen, buy some GPUs and hold on to them a few years. They'll actually go up in value. So
you're basically saying when you're bidding on eBay, we're basically bidding against you every time.
Well, not every time, but yeah, there's a lot of other people out there. So
that's good. Like, as you said, like you have options here. Again, the GenAI tile, you can do Olama, you can use LLMs, so, and CPU, of course. So like you have options and much more. I know there's several other integrations, externally hosted models and even public models. Yeah. But I like, you have options. Yeah.
Yes, so many options, right? All right, so our comments are good. Thanks for everyone watching today. If you have comments, we have throw it in chat. We'll questions. We'll try to answer for you. One more thing though. So now we kind of laid the base framework, right? Now I've implemented a tool within the Open WebUI. We'll go to here, tools, and it's called weather, right? So I added that. If you go to the Open WebUI page, you can load a bunch of internal tools. So right, this is really just adding additional kind of like code to run within the existing Open WebUI, and that tool support's been out for a little bit now. The other things that I haven't quite got working yet in my environment, which hopefully we'll do a follow up or whatever, where you can call an external tool server or that external MCPO, MCPO, MCP proxy layer too as well within the Open WebUI. But essentially the tool will work out very similar, so I'm going to use that. And same thing if you're using, like, you can do like a weather MCP plugin as well, like tell me the weather, and it's going to go out and, like, from the LLM's perspective, be very similar in trying to call that tool and do something with that tool and go from there. So let's go to a new chat here.
Do we want to touch maybe on some terminology? Because I know some people, and me included, I
Mm-hmm.
hear MCP servers, I hear tools, I hear agents.
Mm-hmm.
You may have covered these in a previous episode. Maybe
Yeah. So
quick refresh on
we
those.
have a deep dive on MCP, or the Model Context Protocol. That was episode I don't know, a few episodes back with Corbin Kurte, and they did a great job kind of deep diving into the MCP, right? And if we go to just oops, lock my screen here. Go to the model, just go to the model MCP page. If I can load model. Right. All right. So Anthrop, I think this is the original blog, right? That MCP is this standard that's taken off like wildfire. It was just released in November of last year, and it's made kind of by Anthropic, right? And the context is really to help I think standardize some of the way how tooling works. And it really started off within kind of Claude Desktop, where you download the Claude Desktop, and that was kind of like their interface
Mm,
for Anthropic, and you can plug in all these little, like, kind of little tools that just run locally. So it could be like a little Python function that just says, "Give me the time," right? And that's useful because these models don't have the current, they have no way, because, like, they're trained on a huge set of data in a point in time, and then once their training ends, like, that's all they know, right? They have no way of telling what the current time is, or like what's on your file system. And you've seen too, you may have seen some things where there are like VS Code plugins and things now, something
mm,
like called Klein, or like
yeah,
we even saw like a Libra chat, where these are all kind of like desktop focused clients or programs, or however you want to say it, and they all are interacting with all of these kind of local tooling on like the machine itself, your machine. Like, hey, go look at my file system, or hey, go look at this code. And that's kind of where like the vibe coding thing kind of came from as well, where you're like, all right, now just rewrite this app for me, like, and it's like, you know there's all these different tooling that you could, the was the cursor AI, all these things that can help the we can do a whole new episode, whole
yeah,
different episode on the vibe coding scene. But it's all kind of using a lot of that same kind of concepts, where you have like tools that run locally, and the LLMs, then, like, the concept is giving them like a standardized way to interact with them and say, now, hey, model XYZ, go call this tool and use that, like, call this function or this tool. It will then say, it's usually just a bit of code, right? And then that bit of, query it, run the code will execute on something, right? Either a local machine, or like, in the cloud or wherever. And then come back with that data. And then you can use that data and, like, answer the question of, like, how's the weather today? Right. Um, so hopefully that answered your question. That's probably a bit
yeah.
of long winded and probably not the best answer, but that was kind of like how I can theorize it, so to speak. All right, so let's go back. I have too many tabs, and here we go. Okay, so I have this tool. It's called the Weather app. I think
So,
it's the
sorry,
weather.
Nick, if you just want to show your, it's not presented. No.
Oh, I wasn't presenting this whole time. Whoops. Sorry. I went to the MCP page and everything. All right, we'll go back. Go back to my screen. Oh, I bet once I locked my screen, it pulled off. All right. Oops. Sorry about that. Uh, Maybe. StreamYard. Here we go. Survey says. Add to stage. Try. It's a little behind on the eight ball here. You seen it on your side?
Not yet.
Thought I hit add to stage. Well, we'll give it a second. Let the bits load, perhaps. Nothing. All right. Let me try that again. I'm getting a. Can you see me and hear me still?
Yeah, I can see and hear you.
Yeah. Well. There we go. Just
Here we go.
thanks, StreamYard. All right. Okay. So we'll go back. I gotta stop. I'm getting confused on what screen I am. So, all right, we'll go back to our Open WebUI. Let's go to the new chat, and now we're gonna go back to Gemma, and we're gonna say, "How is the weather? What's the weather in Cincinnati?" Right, and it's gonna say, "I do not have access to real-time information, including the weather. To get the weather in Cincinnati, how about you just go Google it, basically, right? Go to these weather sites, right? Because it knows how to get the weather, but can't actually get the weather, right? All right. So if we ask it again today, we'll ask it one more time. So this is like we're going to enable a tool. We're going to enable the weather tool here. We'll do that. Click that. And then ask it again. And we'll see what happens. It's thinking. These CPUs all at 100% spiked. We're starting to get into a more advanced use case. We're starting to see the limitations of the CPU based LLM, especially because it's on really old CPUs. And we'll see what it comes back with. All right. So I got the same answer. I still don't have access to the information. Is this expected? Yes, because Gemma, if we go to the Olama library, we'll go to filter Gemma. Does not support the tools, right? So Gemma has no idea how to use tools. And this is Gemma 2, and it's the same thing with Gemma 3. Unfortunately, I was excited to see the launch, but it only can do the vision. So if we look into how do we go to back here, models, and then see this is kind of a keynote here, right? Embedding vision tools, right? We got to look for something that can support tools. All right, so and there's Llama 3.3. The llamas support the tools. We have the QWQ. That's a reasoning model. Mistral, so that's good. So I'm using the Mistral Nemo model, and that seems to be one. It is licensing wise, I think it's just straight up Apache 2, so everything's good there. Anybody can use this for basically whatever they want based on that, so that's good. There's no kind of tricky gotchas about if you're like over X company size, like Llama wants to charge you or something like that. It's a smaller model. It's a 12 billion base parameter model, so I can start to fit that in some of these GPUs that I have and not, run out of VRAM and be in the world of sadness. So we're using this. And another key note here is, if you look in here, the model context length. That is also important here. So not only do we get to the situation where when we're dealing with models, especially with a llama, so the llama will set a context length of like 2000 base, right? On unless you explicitly tell it. So you need to have a model that can support a higher context length. So basically 1024K, right? That's great. So we have the context length supported here, so we can these tooling calls or these MCP calls or these function calls all take a lot of data, right? They all so you're making you're stuffing that prompt with a lot of tokens, right? So if you by default don't have a context window to meet the size of the prompt, one, you could crash Llama and things like that. We may be able to replicate that live. I don't know. It's going to be kind of I've seen that before in the past couple shows, especially working with Chris Phillipson and Kaizen. I don't know if we'll be able to replicate that live, but we can. Those are some scenarios we can look at as well. So now,
it's basically the maximum number of tokens
mhm.
the LLM can process really in a single input.
Yeah, and it's as you start to, and then it kind of like the tokens is like it's short-term memory, right? As you start to blow past that context window, then it just starts forgetting about what it already had. So like if you're making a request, you need to fit within the context window and then expect it to reason within that said, you know, um, block of data you just sent it and come back. And like as you write programs, you need to think about that type of thing. And then that's kind of where then like the concept of embedding came in, where you started to take all this data, chunk it up and process it and store it as embeddings on like PG vector and things like that. And then you can kind of have a database kind of help kind of do that storage of data you're processing it, and kind of going back and forth, and there's the whole RAG pattern, so to speak.
So this is really, I suppose, is this more an item concern for if you're running private models like the open model, not the open models, I would say public models, they have huge windows, I'm taking it.
Actually, some of them, like a lot of them are in that 128K context range. So if we look at, I think Anthropic, or let's look at Open AI models. So we got Sam Altman's ChatGPT Open AI models load. And then we'll go to, like, let's say Anthropic models. Maybe it's going to load. Maybe it's not going to load. So do they have they list their context windows somewhere? But a lot of them are in 128. Sorry, so here we go. Claude Sonnet 3.7 is 200K.
Okay.
Claude, the Haiku, I'm not really sure the Haiku versus Sonnet. So I guess Haiku is fastest. Sonnet's the reasoning model, I'm guessing, based on the intelligent word there.
Yeah.
Yeah, 200K. So they're about like 200K. I'm pretty sure the OpenAI models, it just took forever to load here. I don't know why. Like GPT 4.0. Where's one of those? 4.0, like 4.0 mini, right? Where's that? 128K context window, right? Now, I think some of the Google, like Gemini, has like 1 million tokens, or maybe even higher. So some of them have, like, depending on, again, it's all based on the model selection.
Yeah.
Some of them have larger, but then it's like, I don't think many of them have that many. This 128K seems to be, the spot, right? But when you set to that, and the reason why Llama defaults to like 2K, setting to 128K context window starts to rapidly consume resources, right? So it's not only you have the base model that you want for like the memory or VRAM requirements, and you start like, hey, I want to go to 128K context, it starts using a lot more, right? So we'll get into that in a second too. Let's go back to the weather here. So Gemma can't do the weather via the tool, and we kind of expected that, and it is what it is. Sorry, it doesn't know how to do tools. Now, if we go to, I should go back to here and copy and paste this, because why would I type that out again? Let's go to a new chat, and let's go to Mistral Nemo Tools, and we're gonna say, hey, how's the weather today in Cincinnati? Well, now I did not. I made the mistake.
Already toggled?
No, do not make up answers.
Oh.
Okay, well, I don't know. It's still hallucinating for that, but let's try the toggle again and see if it'll come up with the right answer. So Mistral's default response, and I did this, and it just did not happen here like this. But let's say, what's the weather like today in Cincinnati? And use the function. So hopefully, it will actually use this and then properly answer this,
Well, I can't look
did all that
outside
for
your
nothing.
window, but is it right? Is the hallucination actually right?
No. I mean, it's 3:51 p.m. Well, I don't know. 72 degree. Okay. Let me look at my weather app here. 72 degree. So today, so feels like 63. Mainly clear. And I'm actually little in the suburbs. So I'm not quite in Cincinnati. So my current temperature is 66. So
Yeah.
I think that's close enough. 63. So now we're if we look at maybe if I need to load Cincinnati proper here in the weather. 66. Yeah. 66 still. So let's try again. It could maybe be the timing. I wonder what this function's calling from the time here. But you can see kind of what's going on here, right? We're making calls. We're calling out to this tool to get data. And now it might not be 100% or it might be a little, maybe a little bit dated or like this is what it was at this certain time. But again, we went from just crazy hallucination to here I've used this to get the current weather, and here's what it feels like versus. And I guess the key kind of behavior here now. I just grabbed this function, this tool from the Open WebUI repository this morning. I didn't really look at it too much, so there might be some. This is actually just a block of Python code running to get this. So there may be something that we could tweak there a little bit to get that a little bit better answer there. But key answer is that it actually called the tool and responded and did the thing here. And why? Because we support tools and we support max content length too. So that was kind of critical, some critical findings there. We can kind of go into some advanced things here within the worker. I wonder if there's a way to get the log, because we would see a log. So let me go back to this other one, Gemma, and I wanted to see, because you might get an error, and it's probably on the app side. So let me pull up the CF logs. I'm gonna find another terminal here. Oh, I don't want that one. I kind of wanted to show if we can replicate that. Now I can replicate it with Kaizen, I know for sure. But there's like this nice kind of nondescript error. I need to get out of this. I don't need to be in here. Oh boy. Oh, there's too. What am I doing? I have a better tool for this. Hold, please. I have a log aggregation system on my foundation. Why am I hunting through logs in the terminal? Hold, please. Hey, if you haven't seen this screen before, this is ARIA Operations for Logs, aka Log Insight, if you realize Log Insight. I think it's not like VCF logs or something, but yeah, it's a tool that I got in my tool belt. I know how to use pretty well. So, and it's really easy to hook up to Cloud Foundry. So let's look for error. Add filter.
Might just have to blow it up a tiny bit, Nick.
Yeah. This is live hunting for logs, so this could be terrible. Let's see, what is Open WebUI CF Dev? Yes, this. Let's look for maybe not error. It could very well not be logged here, like it logged properly, or like it would log in some of the stuff that we were doing with Kaizen. So, but essentially, you get an error back when you try to call this model. You'll see something like model doesn't support this, or something like that. And that's, maybe you could see that in the AI server. I don't know. But anywho, latitude, North America. I'll have to do a little bit more digging here. But that's kind of a short way. Maybe we could check out the AI server logs. I can do that really quickly here too. But kind of a quick glance of, if you want to do this tooling stuff or this MCP things or anything like that, if you're using Ollama, whether you're on the GenAI tile or locally or whatever, right? Definitely keep in mind what your context window is running. And I know I could show that too, because there are some advanced flags that you need to set within Ollama, right? Because it won't run like that on the fly. So let's cover that. We can wrap up with that, because I could probably spend, a few days, digging through logs, and that won't make for a very interesting show. So nobody wants to see me scratch my head and look at logs. So I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna clear, and I'm gonna open up a configuration file. Blow this up. So, kind of a pro tip on how to set context length. So there's an actual environment variable you can set. So I've set that to essentially 128K, and I'm using this flash attention flag and the KV cache type. So you're actually quantizing the actual context length as well. I'm actually using the Mistral NEMA in a Q8 file, Q8 level as well. So I had the KV, the context match the quantization level of the actual model. That does save in some of the actual requirement of the model, but those are kind of pro tips there, because the default this is like 2048, which won't get you a whole lot of things. Like this tool might even change, like might even fail. Well, I guess we could set that and restart it to see if that changed anything. Actually, maybe that's something.
Like, if you could take a step back, is this a config file on the worker VM?
Yeah, the worker itself. This is a config file on the worker itself. These are advanced kind of flags within Ollama. We actually are, these will be exposed with an ops manager to be configurable when you deploy the models. So that's all in the works to be done. But there are some things I did kind of under the covers to get this to work. If you're, and this is kind of like, these are just normal, like dealing with Ollama, running large context windows, trying to do models that support tooling and functions and things of that nature. So these are just kind of pro tips now for Ollama. But what we needed to do, and another thing too, because we're running this and we're serving these models like long-lived models, we're adding that -1 to keep alive. So when the model gets loaded, it stays in memory, so that you don't have that first hit that where it loads into RAM or VRAM. You don't have that kind of delay in that first response, and that, depending on the size of the model, that could be problematic as well. And one other thing too, num parallel, I set that down to 1 because that's essentially how many requests to process in parallel with Ollama. You could set that to different sizes, but that's essentially saying how many context windows to keep. So if you set that to 2, that's doubling the size, or I think maybe default it'll either be 1 or 4, or maybe 5, depending on what you have within your resources with Ollama configures. But 5 would be a lot of VRAM. I can do that right now. So let's just show you how that works. So I set this over to 5. It may not even load, right? And then I do it right.
And is this like while it's en route to land in the tile? Maybe
those are all
for now.
configurable things to be landed in the tile on a very a release, hopefully to be really soon. So I do monet summary. So I'm going to see Ollama running here. Let's just do monet restart now. and we'll watch. So now I'm waiting for it to come back up. It should start, and then we'll have to query it to get it to go. It may not start. It may get really angry with me. So let's look at NVTop now. It's cleared out because I killed the model. Let's go back to Open WebUI. Where's this? Is this hi? So now I've sent a request. So it's trying to load the model again. And what's going to happen is, because I requested 5 at context length 128K, I'm not really, it's starting to load. It might have already crashed. Let's look at HTOP. Yeah, so it's actually loading the entire model now, all of the layers into system memory instead, because it detected that, hey, you need, I don't even know what this is going to be. I might cap out because I'm, 78, 82, 86, 90. Where's this going to go? Maybe it's going to be over 100 gig in size, 102, 106, but 110. Yeah. All right. So now it's processing, it's loaded. So basically, setting that flag to say, give me 5 in parallel at 128K context, I'm now requiring 113 gigs of RAM. That blows way past my VRAM and my GPUs, and Olama decided it was best to fit that all in system memory. So again, that's something where you have to kind of tweak and tune as well when you're dealing with, depends on what hardware you have available, that type of thing. There are ways to just say, like, load X layers in GPU and X layers on CPU, and then you kind of get this blended speed where it's not as slow as just pure CPU, but not as fast as pure GPU. So those are just some kind of key tags in there to deal with when you're really trying to scale a llama and then run some of these higher context window models. And that's why the default is 2048 though, because it's the default context windows for some of these models. You're not going to have 113 gigs of RAM on your Mac or whatever, right? Unless you have a really one of the super cool ones that are brand new, and that type of thing. So that's kind of where I was getting at with some of these advanced flags, and kind of know your models. That's kind of really kind of key for when working with tooling or MCP or functions or agentic AI, whatever you want to call it these days.
But I certainly learned anyway.
Yeah. So I don't. We're close. I mean, we're almost up on the hour. Up on the past the hour a little bit here. I think that's a kind of a good place to wrap. Maybe we'll come back. I'll come back later when we have some more of these things working and more mileage there. But that's just kind of where we're at there today. I'm gonna actually go and set that back to 1 because that's one of my production models. And if somebody's trying to use this, they're gonna have a real bad time because it just went from being purely on GPU to entirely on CPUs, and they won't like that much. And then do a monitor restart. Go from there. So hey, I guess I'll go stop the screen here. Don't forget to like and subscribe, Pillow, because you love this show and want to stay notified of all of our latest and greatest content. Keith, I appreciate you joining the show and filling in for Nikki today. We'll actually have some. We're not quite ready to make the full announcement yet, but Keith and I are kind of working on a whole nother sub-series within Cloud Foundry Weekly. So I actually need to do a lot of video editing here. It's a non-live variant, so keep your eyes peeled for that. If you subscribe, you'll get a notification when that lands on our channel. So that should be your call too, to keep your eyes peeled there. Do you have any closing thoughts for the audience, Keith?
No, other than, like, as I said, the pace of this is bringing me back to my Kubernetes days, my early Kubernetes days, So things like this are handy. Like, I know I've spent hours, nights just troubleshooting stuff. And like these little few little tips can really help you. Like it's just because it's moving so fast, and as you say, you always try and document as you go and everything, but there's just these few little tidbits can help out so much.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll keep sharing as we keep finding them, and we can kind of go from there. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, that's don't forget about Cloud Foundry Day North America and our VMware Tanzu AI Day the day before. So if you're interested there, let us know. But I guess that kind of will close the show today, and then we'll have more fun next week. So we'll do our you know how we sign off, Keith.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and do our CF by here. 3, 2, 1. CF by.